So the first one is a very standard one. It has 5 products across, and you interact by clicking on the arrows. On mobile, you can actually swipe left to right with your finger instead of just clicking on the buttons. So if I go into the back end of this, you can see it's set up traditionally with two scenes or 2 boards. This is created using the flex layout here. So changing my guide. If I change my board in, you can see that they actually move on to another layers. And within this board, you can see I have all the products set out in groups. And each one of these tiles you can just swap out, and mobile's the same. You got your boards over here. And one thing we are doing slightly differently in here is that we have an overlay layer. And I'm going to pass this over to Brendan so he can talk to you about how to set that up.
And one quick note, I'll just do it as I'm pulling this up, is Alex mentioned how you're able to swipe with your finger and also click on the buttons in order to navigate here on mobile. So that is another just a little bit of a custom action that we would add into your account. So just reach out to support and we can get that implemented. So that way, swiping with your finger or clicking on a button both works. But yeah, we want to talk about the overlay quick. It's kind of the most useful thing you can have added to your account, especially if you're working with carousels a lot, because what you'll notice with the overlay is these elements like these arrows, they're only added on the first scene here. So it's a really big time save because normally you'd be creating these arrows on the first scene, copy and pasting them onto every scene after, and then you'd be linking them all up. So I'd be clicking on this one and I'd be having it set to navigate to scene 2. And I'd have the one on scene 2 to navigate to scene 3 and then scene 4. And you'd have to do that over and over, kind of like iterate. And the more scenes you have, the longer it ends up taking. But with the overlay, you only have to add it once on the very first board, and now it just works as intended. You'll see as I swipe, these arrows are on every scene, and we don't have to worry about it. You can also, it's a little bit more clear in this example, you'll see that if you want the product images to kind of slide behind the arrows, you'll see the arrows are also like automatically going to be in the very front. So that's another just stylistic feature. The only thing you have to do is create a group on your board, as you can see here, called overlay. And if I open up that group, anything that's in the overlay group is going to function. It's going to remain static and fixed in place. And the way that this actually works is you'll just need to create something like this left arrow, and you'll see it just needs to be labeled with the word left, and the right arrow needs to be labeled with the word right. And by adding those labels, we know that those are the objects that clicking on them should trigger a scene navigation. Everything else, you don't need to do anything else. It just needs to be in the overlay group. So that's what's been done for this text that says carousel 1, and that's how that remains fixed in place, just by putting it inside of a group that's named overlay. So really straightforward to use. Just add the word overlay, add the word left, add the word right, and then you'll have your full carousel linked up. It doesn't matter how many boards or scenes you have.